A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In our last class, we were discussing about habitats. We looked at aquatic habitats and the types of habitats under aquatic habitats. Under that, we looked at the marine habitats and the freshwater habitats. We looked at the characteristics of the marine habitats and the factors affecting marine habitats. We also looked at the zones in the marine habitat based on light penetration and photosynthetic activity as well as the depth. Now we also looked at the some examples of food chain under marine habitat. We also look at estuary habitats as a point where, as a broad mouth of water where a river empties its content into the ocean. We also looked at eutrophication and we looked at some examples of food chain. Then, inshallah, this week we are looking at terrestrial habitats. Terrestrial habitats majorly is divided into four. We have the marsh, the rainforest, the savanna, and the arid land. First, the marsh. A marsh generally is a lowland area that is usually flooded. It is a lowland. It contains sand, but usually it is waterlogged all time as a result of being flooded. Now, normally we have grass and shrubs. They thrive in marsh. However, if there is a presence of tree in a marsh, that marsh is known as a swamp. Remember, I told you marsh is usually a lowland. Marsh is a lowland that is usually waterlogged or flooded at all time, and that grasses and shrubs grow in a marsh. However, when a marsh contains a tree, it is called a swamp. Now let's look at the characteristics of a marsh. Now, one of the characteristics of a marsh is that because of the fact that the place is usually waterlogged, because of that, the soil in a marsh is waterlogged, is soft because of the water. It is soft and it is poorly aerated. Another thing is that from the definition I told you, it is usually a low land that is flat. Then another thing is that a marsh is usually flooded with water and there is high rate of organic decomposition in a marsh. Also, you also see presence of stagnant water. All these, they are characteristics of a marsh. Usually most times you see water. The place is usually waterlogged and the sand there is soft because of the fact that it contains water, and you may even see the presence of stagnant water. Now, let's look at examples of food chain in a marsh, and that leads to examples of organisms that we can find in a marsh. You know, because of the fact that I told you that there is decomposition is going on there, so, and because of the fact that there is sand there is presence of humus. So the humus will be fed upon by the earthworm, which is an example of organism that is present in a marsh. The earthworm will be fed upon by a frog. It's also an example of organism found in a marsh, and the frog will be fed upon by snakes. Another example of food chain in a marsh include plants like grass, like the fence, like the bryophyte. They will be fed upon by insects. The insect will be fed upon by frog, while the frog will be fed upon by the crocodile. And factors, some factors that affect or that are predominant in a marsh include rainfall, temperature, relative humidity, and relative humidity. They are all factors affecting marsh. There are some also abiotic factors that also affect a marsh. For example, the producers, the parasitism, predation, prey-predation relationship, all these, they are biotic factor that is present in a marsh. Then let's look at local biome. Now this local biome is telling us about the local environment in this our Nigeria locality. Where can we find this type of habitat? This habitat is found in the mangrove. It's called the mangrove swamp forest, and areas you can find it in our Nigeria locality include, you can find it around the Delta region, the Bayelsa, Cross River, Lagos, and other vegetative characteristics of the place include the presence of tall woody trees. Presence of the trees there are usually evergreen. Evergreen means that they don't shed their leaf. They are usually green all year round, and this is because of the fact that there is high rainfall in the area, and the trees there are with broad leaves. Now let's look at other things about this about the marsh. Sorry, a second. Now we have looked at factors affecting marsh. We have looked at local biome. Now let's look at examples of plants in a marsh. These include the white mangrove, the red mangrove, raffia palm, coconut. These are all examples of plant species inhabiting a marsh. Then examples of animals, they include tilapia fish, snakes, birds, crab, toad, insects, etc. Even earthworm are all typical examples of organisms we can find in a marsh. Then the second type of habitat under the terrestrial habitat, it is known as the rainforest. Normally a forest is a community of plants that is largely or a place that is densely populated by trees. Now the characteristics of forest include, number one, from the major things that dominate there is presence of tall trees in the forest, and these trees usually have very broad leaves. The trees are usually broad. Then there is presence of trees with buttress roots, and these buttress use adaptation for anchorage and support. There is presence of trees with canopies. Now these canopies are formed because of the fact that the trees are much and they branch in a way such that they form canopy, and that the trees also exist in layers. We have the upper layer, the middle layer, the lower layer, the ground layer, and the epiphyte. Then there is presence of trees with thin bark. The trees usually have thin bark. Then we have the presence of a group of plants called epiphytes. Epiphytes are plants that depend on other rigid plants or trees for support. They tend to derive support by anchoring on other plants. So we are looking at strata or layers in the forest. Remember, from the characteristics of forest, we said that the trees, they form canopies. That's one of the characteristics, and the trees are in strata or layers. Now we have the upper layers. The upper layers consist of the tallest tree among the trees, and these trees usually are over 40 meters in height. A very good example is the Iroko tree. Some of us might have not seen the Iroko tree before, but there is this popular idea. When you see a very tall person, you say you are tall like the Iroko tree. It's trying to tell us the how significant the tallness of Iroko is. So a very good example of trees in this up layer include the Iroko, the Opeche, the African walnut, the mahogany, etc., etc. They are all very tall trees that used to inhabit the upper layer. The second one is the middle layer or the middle strata. This middle strata consists of trees between 16 to 40 meters. Most times their crown, their branching touches each other such that they form the canopy. That is a characteristic feature of the forest habitat. Now, the lower layer consists of small trees that is less than 16 meters. These trees also have ability to form canopies with their crown. While we have the shrubs. The shrub consists of very small trees of less than 5 meters or between 5 meters, from 5 meters to the lowest. Now, and they are known as the shrub. Now, the last layer, which is known as the ground layer or the forest floor, it consists of shade-loving plants such as the bryophyte. The bryophyte grows around where you have shade. Now, the bryophyte, which include the moss, the fern, the liverwort, etc., they are all bryophyte. All these, they are examples of plants you find in the forest. Then we have the local biome. The local biome is also known as rainforest locally here in Nigeria, and this rainforest is distributed around Edo, Akwa Ibom, Imo, Oyo, Abia, Ondo, etc. Now, the vegetation, now the trees there are deciduous. When we say trees are deciduous, it means that the trees here, they shed their leaves annually, and there is presence of very high temperatures and rainfall in this environment. Now, we are moving forward to see some adaptive features of plants in the forest. The most plants that inhabit this forest habitat, they are mesophytes. So most adaptation of mesophytes to their environment fits into the adaptation of plants in the forest habitat. So the plants here, they have strong taproot system and buttress root for anchorage and support. They also have broad leaves to aid transpiration. Then the epiphytes that are present there, they have mechanism for storing and absorbing water from air. A very good example of mesophyte here is the orchid plant. Now, adaptation of animal, they include, now most animals you find there, they are sometimes climbing trees and jumping here and there, and one of the adaptations for this is that they have prehensile tail and long limbs. These are adapted for climbing and jumping. A very good example is monkey, chameleon, baboon, etc. Another adaptation is that some of these animals, they have protective or creative coloration. A very good example is chameleon. We have done behavioral adaptation. Another adaptation which this animal exhibit is that some of them, they move in groups in order to scare their predators. A very good example is the ace. Some of them possess opposable digits such that they will use it for climbing easily. That is the adaptation for life in the forest. Some of them also possess wings for flying. A very good example is the bird. You can find the hawk even there in that habitat. All this the adaptation for survival in the forest habitat. We are moving forward to the savanna or the grassland. Now, this savanna habitat does not contain trees, but when it contains trees, these trees are usually short and they are scattered around. They are not as dense and dominant as you have it in the forest. Now, one of the major characteristics of the savanna is that grasses predominate the savanna habitat, and there is presence of very scanty trees, but they are scattered. Then the plants in the savanna, they are deciduous. I've told you the meaning of deciduous. The plants have small leaves, and there is presence of fire resistance plants because of the constant bushfire that is associated with the savanna habitat. Now we are looking at adaptive features of plants in the savanna. Now one of it is that some of the plants, they possess rhizome or underground stem which help them to withstand intense heat, high amount of heat, bushfire and excessive dryness, such that when their leaves, when their part that is above the soil, when it is hit by all these factors, they will pretend as if they are dead. However, the underground rhizome is still living. Then most of these plants, they have succulent stem. What do they use it for? Because of the fact that this savanna habitat have low rainfall, so they use this stem for storing water. They also have long roots so as to reach far areas where water is present underground. Example is the acacia plant. Also, they also have thick bark to reduce transpiration and also protect themselves from bushfire. Now, animals, the adaptation in the savanna, adaptive features of plants of animals in the savanna. It includes one, the animals, some of them, because of there is intense heat in the savanna, some of them, they burrow into the soil to avoid excess heat and to avoid excess loss of water. And some of them, they have camouflage body color to avoid predation. And also all other adaptive features of animal to live successfully in to withstand long period of droughts, all adaptive features that we have learned about, all adaptive features of animals to withstand long period of heat are all examples of adaptation of animal to live successfully in the savanna habitat. Let's go to the next slide. Now let's look at examples of food chain in the savanna. We have example, the place is predominated by grasses. The grasses will be eaten by grasshoppers. The grasshoppers will be fed upon by lizards, while the lizard will be fed upon by snakes that are present there. The local biome in this our locality, they include the Guinea savanna, as we have learned in our GS3, the Sudan savanna and the Sahel savanna. Now these areas are found in the habitat, they are found in areas listed below. We have Kogi for Guinea savanna, Benue, Osun, Bauchi, Niger, Taraba, and we have for Sahel savanna, Borno, Katsina, Kano and Yobe for Sahel savanna. All these, they are all the local biome where you find these habitats in our locality. Now we are moving forward to the third type of habitats, terrestrial habitats we are discussing, and that is known as the desert or arid land. A minute. A minute. Now this desert vegetation, a desert or arid land is an area where you have very low or no water availability, very low water, and you have scanty vegetation. This area is characterized with high temperature and low rainfall. There is high temperature and low rainfall. There is presence of scanty grass and there is no trees or very scanty shrubs. That's what you find in the desert. Now, examples of animals that you find in this area, they include now these are examples of food chain in the desert. You have plants. The plants will be eaten by rats, while the rats will be eaten by the snakes. You still have some snakes thriving well in the desert. Another examples include we have plant. The plant will be eaten by locusts. The locusts will be eaten by the wasps, while the wasps will be eaten by the river. Remember, I told you most plants that thrive there, they are known as xerophytes. We have looked at adaptation of xerophytes to survive in the arid land. You may flash back to that to know some adaptation and examples of plants in the desert. And I've also told you these animals, some of them, they undergo burrowing, which is some of the adaptive features we have talked about. They undergo estivation, which are some of the adaptive features we have talked about. So I implore you to turn back to your notes so as to flash back, so as to save our time and go to another topic. Inshallah, we are preparing for our exam. I know that very soon we shall be called back to resume. So I will implore you, please do more of revision so that when we meet, we'll have less work to conclude. Under this, I will say Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.